Hey everyone. So it's me. It's the 2nd of December and I'm recording again. Fell off a little bit for about 5 days. It was I don't know, it wasn't even really bad. I think I'm just so it's funny. I'm on the second step of faith. I'm in that cycle and the 5th month of it. This I always thought it was like divinity, holiness, judgment, wrath, the opposite of wrath, right? Of the sin. And I recently realized it was serenity and surrender. And it's just an idea that's kind of going through. I have a lot kind of going on in my mind because so recently kind of had like my heart, I feel like I don't know if it was broken. I think I just, you know, I think recently there was just this idea or believing that someone could love me. Um, and maybe I've become so at home with that negligence that I created a circumstance where I pushed them away. I don't know if that's fully true because I think, I was clear about what I needed, and not everyone can give you what you need. And it might not necessarily mean that they don't love you, it just means that they can't love you the way you need because their capacity is limited. So it's about fit. I realize though, like, I'm just gonna talk about my feelings for a little bit because I don't believe anyone's gonna watch this anyway. And I just feel so lonely, and I felt so lonely for so long. And I think I recently met someone who I felt, you know, a sense of letting that in. And now there's this sense of her kind of advancing without me. And, she'd recently put this post, asking people tell her great things about their relationship. And she was posting all these people glazing her. And I didn't put anything because there's a part of me that's just wanting to let go and move on. But I really appreciate her, and I wanted to share that appreciation. And then there was this sense of like, I reached out, I was going to go, and then, I was like, okay, I'm going to go. And then I went on her profile, and she was talking about her journey and everything. And I felt like she omitted me from her story. And I realized I didn't like that. I didn't get angry about it before, but there's a part of me that just felt like tired of being omitted, you know? I feel like when I think of the people who've been so instrumental to my story, even if I have issues with them now, to pretend like they weren't in my life or that they weren't profound in my development. Even though like I think back of like my teenage years, there's I had one friend and he was kind of an asshole and he treated me really poorly. Um but like he had a big part in my development, and I recognized that like these people who are part of my story are important. And I guess there's a part of me that, not to deny these people that came, I don't know, there's just this sense of like just feeling like I wasn't that big a deal. And I was just like a postscript, you know what I mean? And I don't want to feel like that anymore because I don't believe that's who I am. And at first I was going to go tell her. Then I thought to myself, telling her isn't going to change her mind. It's not gonna help her see me more because she wanted to. And I realize I feel loved when people proactively reach out or take effort towards me. And I have this strange relationship with attention, and that I don't really like attention because I feel like attention distracts from real connection. And I think I spent so much time as a kid trying to get negative attention just because I wanted people to connect with me. But I realized like I still have a lot of traits of that. Like I'm learning Spanish and like Japanese, like I used to learn it, and like I'll pretend that I understood Japanese better than I did. Um, because there was a time I was pretty strong at it, but I don't know. It's just like there's this ego, this idea that like I have to be on top or charge or something to be worthwhile. And I think as I'm just kind of sitting in my isolation, just kind of seeing how inadequate in so many ways that I am, I've still found this profound sense of like purposeness in my being, in my own existence. And, in about 4 days, I'm gonna have to leave this. 4 days, I'm gonna have to leave this place. I'm not gonna have a place to stay. Or 5 days, I guess, 4 or 5 days, and I'm just gonna be homeless probably. And I was making the Onion Yappa Raising Project video, and then it was just like, but I need to do it. And there's always this, I've lacked this discipline and kind of fell into like the porn hole. And I'm realizing like when I think of the only identifiable habit, I think it's like whenever I'm not playing video games and I'm looking at porn, it's always really bad. And I'm just like, okay, let me just reverse that and surrender to that. And so, no looking at porn, trying to play more video games, and then just trusting that whatever flows from me will come. I've spent so much time trying to pressure myself into being something that people will see and care for. But I realized like part of the reason I left Utah, left my whole life behind was because I just felt so much neglect. I always felt so ignored. And that attention was just that. It was attention, but it never turned into anything substantial. Except for Mana. And I want to speak about that. I remember at the end of 2022, he was a stranger at the time, and I guess he's my best friend. He really showed up for me, you know? He was the one person that could do something and did do something. And I don't blame anybody who couldn't do anything. And I don't even blame anyone who wouldn't do anything. I just think like we live in this world with so many limits. And I think those limitations are built as a result of the love we give, not the other way around. I don't think the love we have is limited because of the nature of what our capacities are. I think when our love is limited, our capacity to love therefore shows up within those limits. I realize I'm not sure where the relationship with money and power comes, but I realize like I've wanted to be a loving person so that I can support and help people. Obviously, who are in situations like me, just neglected. And people who fell through the cracks, give them a place to come home. And I realized that's what I need to do that for myself. And I'd done that for some people in the past, I think, but I think there was a time when I wouldn't let them do that for me, and I pushed them away. I think in particular, like my ex-girlfriend, I think of that. I I think she was someone who was trying to build a home with me. She's the one that really put that word in my mind. And I think since then, I haven't really, I think the last, because I broke up with her Christmas 2020. So it's been almost 4 years now. I was with the girl for 4 months, and 4 years later, I still haven't found another girlfriend. And I'm just slow, I guess. I get stuck on things. I seek mastery, and I don't know. I have all these narratives I can tell myself. Most of them are just talking about how I suck. So rather than adopt that narrative, I've just decided that I'm not going to hate myself and I'm just going to appreciate who and what I am. And I believe the world does too. I believe the universe does too. I'll admit it is hard because I'll look at so many other versions or stories or people, and I'll just feel as though that like I came up wrong. And I'm like, I'll show a spark or inspire something in them or whatever, and they'll almost like live it better than I do, and I'll be happy for them. And I think there's a part of me that wants flowers. Like there's this vain part of me that wants to be recognized or to be seen or to be appreciated. And I don't feel like I've felt that. But I guess like I can feel that for myself, accepted in this moment that I did a good job and that that person might not necessarily see. I guess it's not even about my ego because it's really God working in their lives, right? And God was just using me as a vessel. Like I am not the source of that light. And I think that's something I have to remember. I think life's been really hard for a really long time. And whatever the opposite of neglect is, that's what I have to learn. So yeah, I want attention, but I guess I just really want to be seen and I want to be loved. Guess everybody wants that. But there's a part of me that sees attention as just that and pushes it away, and I'm too tired to be anything but what I am. I think for the first time I'm just kind of surrendering to who and what I am. And just recognize that I find peace in not necessarily feeling like I have to talk a certain way or be a certain person in certain groups. It's why I avoid certain groups, and I've noticed that I'm kind of weird and I don't connect with people the way I would like to. And, I tell myself it's like this chosen one narrative, but maybe I'm just a dingus and the universe is just slowly writing me out of the story. Either way, I don't know. It's weird. There's a weird sense of acceptance and sadness when you can just sit with yourself. And I'm terribly lonely. And I've been wanting it to end, but I think like I'm just accepting that this is what it is. And I'm not going to try anymore. I'm just going to be here and enjoy it as best I can.